It's a good one.
I was talking about how the live scope's changed so much, you know, but I still like the surprise of how fat it is.
That's what we're out here for today.
Yep.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. We've got a good one for you today featuring some big bass. Now, we do a lot of traveling here with the Fish Hunt Forever YouTube channel, and hopefully we're going to places that you're interested in. We try to show you how to get there, what you can do while you're there, and how to be successful. Well, last September, we went down to Kentucky Lake for an AGLOW conference, the Association of Great Lakes Outdoor Writers. It's always a fun time, and we got to spend a couple of days in the boat with Brandon Hunter on Kentucky Lake. Now, Brandon was a tournament angler, he's a fishing guide, and he's got a business called Sonar Solutions, which will help you dial in your electronics. Brandon took us out. We went after big smallies, big largemouth. We did it with Topwater, which is always a blast. And then in March, we went back down to Kentucky Lake for the Bassmaster Open. We followed a couple local Minnesota anglers down there, and I jumped in the boat once again with Brandon, only this time we went to a private lake which has some giant bass. Hopefully you liked the video. If you do, give us a like, leave us a comment, and subscribe to the Fish Hunt Forever YouTube channel.
Missouri. We're about halfway to Kentucky right now. We're headed down to Kentucky Lake for the 2024 AGLOW conference. Welcome crew here at Kentucky Dam Village. It's a state park, and this is where we're staying. They got a main lodge here with a check-in desk, and then they've got cabins around the park as well. We're in one of the cabins, but first we got to go check in. Yeah, this will do. So we just got into our cottage here. There's a lot of cottages and a main lodge with rooms and stuff. We did a 2-bedroom, so Dan and I each have one, and he's got his own bathroom. That one is also one that connects to the kitchen out here, and then he's got 2 beds in there. And then my room has 2 beds as well. And then I've got my own bathroom here, which is a huge bathroom and a shower in both of them. So what do you think, Dan?
I like my places worse.
Yeah, so this is one of the largest man-made lakes out here in this area, and you know, it's I'm excited to get out on the water. It's, you know, I've lived here my whole life, and go out here and see what we can do today. Largemouth, smallmouth. This lake's got both in it. Good population of smallmouth in this lake. A good population of largemouth as well, and there's lots of them. So we're gonna throw some topwater. We're gonna go out here. We're getting into the early fall, you know, late summer, early fall transition. So fishing's been a little bit tough out here, but we're gonna go out here and just cover some water and you know, throw a topwater around, see if we can get some big bites. So I was kind of hoping that sun would stay tucked in behind those clouds this morning. I like those cloudy, overcast mornings in the fall. It just seems like the shad roam around more, the fish roam around more when you're covering water like this. It just seems like it's so much easier to catch them on those cloudy, overcast mornings.
Is shad kind of a main forage for him here?
Yeah, so you've got threadfin, you've got gizzard shad, and the shad population, it just disappeared there for a few years, and it's coming back strong, and I'm actually anxious to see what this fall brings. This will be the first fall that we've actually had where the fishing was come back really good, you know, really strong this year in 24. So I'm anxious to see what this fall brings. I've got guys that's wanting to book trips, and you know, when do I need to come? Well, the answer is I don't really know right now, because yeah, I've fished this lake my whole life, but we went through those tough years, and then now it's coming back. This is the first year that it's really come back good, and so it's one of those things time will tell, you know, what this fall is going to bring. There's one.
Nice.
Nice one.
There you go.
If you look up there on the bank, there's some rock and stumps that are right out off the bank right there. They're just under the surface of the water there. I threw that topwater up there and just kind of working it right over the top of it. That's typical for this time of year in the fall, just fishing over structure. A fish like swirled on it, just kind of rolled on it. Didn't really eat the bait, just kind of swirled on it and just kept walking it. And he came up there and grabbed it.
What are you using?
6 cents dogma right there. That's a topwater bait. It's a bone color. We're out here on a cloudy, overcast day, and that bone color, just a little bone color walking bait. I throw 2 different types of baits this time of year. I throw a plopping style bait and then something that I can walk over structure like that. Nice little, I mean, that fish is 2 3/4, you know, pushing 3 pounds. It's a nice chunky one.
All right, so when we started this morning, it was really calm. It was actually really bright and sunny. Clouds have come in. There's actually some storms popping up around the region a little bit, and we're probably gonna get rained on later today. But for now, it's kind of clouded over. The wind picked up a little bit. How much do you think that played a factor in the fish starting to get a little more active here?
So here in the last just 30 minutes or so, 20, 30 minutes, we've had a couple of bites, and both bites I actually noticed that they were up actually pretty shallow. If you look up there where I just caught that last one, it's like no water. It's like that deep up there. And like I say, they're on structure, and typically the places that I've run this morning has mostly been more channel swing stuff, things that are, you know, places that are closer to deep water. Both the bites that we just got were up in real shallow water with cover underneath. So I'm gonna start running some more stuff that, you know, actually have stumps or rock underneath the water. And then just, you know, I think those fish may be holding around that cover. Typically on a morning like this, like you say, with the clouds and stuff rolling in, they'll get a little bit more active. So I'm kind of anxious to see if they really do get going, and or if it was just kind of a fluke thing that, you know, both of those fish happen to be up on the same thing, or if these storms that's rolling in are actually gonna get them going. So we'll see. I was watching right up there, right up on the bank, there was something kept chasing shad. I threw up there and I didn't bit more get it out of my mouth, and that one clobbered it.
I was gonna say, right where you cast, I'd seen shad on the surface there right before that.
I was throwing out there and just, I mean, I've been seeing more shad activity. I pulled in here, seen more shad activity than I have all morning, actually. I had one follow, it just kind of rolled on it right at the boat as I was pulling it out, and then made that next cast up there, up closer to the bank where I've seen that shad. That one come out and blasted it. Not a great big one, but I mean, you know, 15-inch size limit here. That's a 16-inch fish there, so.
There we go.
It's a good one.
Nice. It's hilarious. Well, I think they're definitely getting active. Oh yeah, look at that.
He's barely hooked. That's a chunky one. I mean, that's a 3.5, 3 3/4. I mean, it's a heavy fish. I think they're gonna get going a little bit here, or we just found a stretch, there's some on it. I mean, I've caught 3 down here, so nice chunky one. Again, I looked up there and I saw that bait bust, and it's like little pencil minnows is what they're feeding on up there. Well, emerald shiners is what they are. A lot smaller bait than like a threadfin or a gizzard. They run in big wads, and I seen them scattering up through there, and threw that bait up there around them, and sure enough, there was fish on them.
All right, when's goose season open?
Early goose season I don't know if it's in right now or not.
Yeah, I'd say action's definitely picked up.
Yeah, Yeah, it's definitely picked up. I caught another. I mean, it's not a great big one, but again, it's a 15-inch fish. I mean, I did learn something around that corner. These fish are a lot shallower than I thought they were. I mean, they're literally in inches of water. And, you know, it's that time of year, they're gonna start thinking about moving back shallow. And I just come around this corner here. There's a flat here with a lot of wood underneath the water, and it's real shallow. As a matter of fact, it may be even hard to get the boat in there, but I started making my way in there, and then I saw a log under the water, and that fish was right on the end of that log. I mean, like I say, not a big one, but a keeper fish out here on Kentucky Lake. So this bait that I'm throwing out here this morning, like I said earlier, I actually throw 2 different styles topwater bait whenever I'm fishing in the fall. And it all depends on the weather and the conditions that you have. A plopping style bait, you know, with a plopper tail on it, it just moves a lot more water. When I'm out here fishing and it's windy and overcast or sun, either one, but the wind is key with that plopping style bait. Just, you can cover a lot more water with it, and it's a louder bait. But out here this morning, we're getting in some of these calmer areas where a lot of these fish are starting to make their way up shallow, and they're getting up super shallow. You can cover water with that plopper, but if you take a walking style bait like this is the 6 Sense Dogma. Any kind of walking style bait, there's all kinds of brands out there that make good walking style baits, but you can take that bait and you can walk it over certain areas when you're, let's say you're covering water with a plopper and you get a bite or two. Well, if there's structure underneath the water, you're a whole lot better off walking something over the top of it a lot slower, because that plopper moves through the water so fast that you can take this bait right here and walk it over the top of that structure. So if there's rock or wood or stumps or bait, whatever it is up shallow, you can walk that bait a lot slower and just kind of keep it in that strike zone a lot longer.
Is there any reason for the color at all?
I keep colors simple. I'm not one of them that gets too tore up with colors. I mean, you know, you want like a chrome blue, chrome black on a sunny day. The bone color, they'll bite bone on a sunny day as well, but typically out here, whenever it's cloudy, overcast, I'll throw something white or bone color.
Well, I wasn't quite sure what to expect out here. I mean, obviously this is historically a pretty good fishery, particularly for bass. And I know this isn't the best time of year maybe to come here and fish, but well, the last hour, half hour, whatever it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, you know, this is typically not the best time of year to come fish here. You know, August, September, I've always said are the 2 toughest months on the calendar year to fish Kentucky Lake, anywhere in the South, so to speak. I mean, but it's, you know, there's different times of year where this lake really shines. Kentucky Lake is kind of known for a ledge. It's known as a ledge fishing lake, and what I mean is the Tennessee River flows through here, and it offers so many river ledges and creek channel ledges and bars and things like that out there, where you can go out there and find fish schooled up in the summertime, and you catch them every cast out there. And then there's, you know, the smallmouth factor in the springtime, early spring. You can catch largemouth, smallmouth up on the bank. You can catch them out in the middle, out on the bars and flats. So it's, you know, that's the cool thing that I've always said about Kentucky Lake, is that it's a good place to learn, because any given time, any time of the year, you can go do different things and catch fish. And I think that's why a lot of the kids, they pick Murray State as a college to come here and fish, is simply because the fishery is so versatile. So
how long have you been guiding here?
So I used to fish what was the Major League Fishing used to be called the FLW Tour, and I fished there full-time for 3 years, and I started guiding on Kentucky Lake in about 2014 full-time. It was just one of those things that kind of happened. I had no intentions on being a fishing guide. I was doing some electronic setups and training on the water with electronics and showing people how to use those, and one thing led to another, and people started wanting me to take them fishing, and so I said yes, and I kind of turned it into what I do for a living. I've been very fortunate to be able to be out here and to live here on Kentucky Lake, number one, and to be able to fish such an awesome fishery, you know, and make a living doing it. So you know, we've had some tough years, but we've had some really good years, and it's been a pretty good ride so far. If you book a trip with me, I mean, I try to do more educational stuff than I do just go catch a bunch of fish. So, you know, if you want to go catch numbers and go catch fish, I'm going to pick certain times of year where we can go do that. But there's other times of year where the fishing gets tougher, and I always try to hope that, you know, clients walk away, have learned something about the area, learn something about the lake, the fishery. There's one right there, came right off that stump and just smacked it. But to just come to the lake and just get in the boat with me and hope at the end of the day that they've learned something. But, you know, like I say, I try to cater to the people that do more educational stuff, you know, certain techniques or using your electronics at different times of the year, those kind of things. That's the part of the job that I enjoy more so than just going and catching a bunch of fish.
How much have you been using the electronics here today?
Today, not very much. With the new sonar technology, forward-facing sonar and everything out there nowadays, you know, I get my feel of that. I'm not one of those guys that comes out here and uses it every single day. I try to remember history and fish a lot of history and old ways. You could see we're out here throwing a topwater this morning, you know, obviously, yeah, you can see a topwater on forward-facing sonar, you know, but these fish are up so shallow, we're not really using it. The only thing I'm using it for is a map and the 2D sonar just to see how deep it is. So it really doesn't play too much of a factor until the weather gets cold. I mean, there's going to be guys that's out here using it on days like today, but you know, I'd a whole lot rather go to the bank and throw a topwater and get a big old smallmouth or a big old largemouth, just blast that topwater out of the water.
So while I've been out here today learning about Kentucky Lake, watching Brandon catch all these fish, there's been a fish donkey tournament going on this whole time too, which we kind of forgot about a little bit. He'd probably be doing pretty well in it right now. I don't know if did you even enter? I'm not even sure if you're in the contest.
No,
right?
I didn't enter it.
I did, but all I've been doing is filming him. But we got a 19-inch smallmouth.
Nice.
In first place, and 17.5-inch largemouth. Frank Campbell's got a 17, 16, 15 3/4. There's been quite a few bass. Looks like 31 bass have been entered. There, even Elena got an 8.5-incher. There you go. Largest catfish, Susie Kenner. Susie Kenner and Joe Henry catching catfish today. Got a couple 20-inch cats. Got 11.5-inch crappie. 10 3/4-inch crappie, number of crappies there. Richard Sims in the lead there. All right, we're back out here on the water on Kentucky Lake with Brandon Hunter. We got Dan with, he's behind the camera right now, but we're gonna see if he can get some bass and maybe learn a little bit about some of the electronics tips that Brandon gives his clients when they come out here on the water.
Come high water, I'll leave you and never look back. Someday you'll come running somehow.
Well, this is one of the more interesting places we fish down here. These big structures behind me. This is what the barges use to tie up to when they're waiting to get through the dam here, waiting to get through the lock. And right away before the camera was fired up, Brandon missed a big one. Had it come up and blow up. Didn't hook him, and Dan's on the board with his first one. But this is a really cool area. We're actually fishing the other side of the lake today. This is the land between the lakes. So we're on Kentucky Lake here, and then it's, how many acres was it, Dan, do you remember?
Oh, it's a lot.
It's basically a big undeveloped area in between Lake Barkley and Kentucky Lake here. And I think it's a park or it's protected. It's essentially an area that you can go hunt. This is where you guys squirrel hunted, right?
Yep.
Right over there. So we're gonna fish along this side. It's a little bit out of the wind. And seems like there's bait moving, and we've already had 2 fish basically reacting, so maybe we can get into a few today. That's a nice fish, smallmouth. Look at the colors on that one. That's pretty cool. All right, so Brandon, when we were out here the other day, it was all largemouth. Now today we're fishing the other side of the lake, and it's been mostly smallmouth. Has there been any rhyme or reason to that?
So, you know, the other day when we were out, we had a little bit different conditions. A couple of days ago, it was cloudy, overcast. Today, you can see the sun's high and bright. We've got some clouds kind of rolling in here, but you know, I usually let the weather play a factor in what I decide to do. First, depending on the time of year that it is. We're in the latter part of September, going into October, and typically this time of year on Kentucky Lake, this lake fishes pretty tough this time of year. And what's going on is we've still had some really warm days. The shad really haven't made their major push back yet, and then it's got the fish really scattered. It's one here, one there. But the other day when we were out, cloudy, overcast conditions, we were catching mostly largemouth. They were on a little bit different kind of stuff, We switched sides this today and got over here on the east side, and if you noticed, the water's a little bit cleaner over here, and typically whenever I can find that clean water, it's usually where you're going to find your smallmouth. Not saying that you can't catch smallmouth in that dirtier water, but typically this time of year, whenever the sun's up high and bright and I can find that cleaner water, a lot of times it allows us to find those places that are under the water, like whether it be a big boulder rock or a stump that's under the water, and a lot of times that's where you're going to find those smallmouth.
And you can see it in the clear water. It seems like there's maybe a lot more rocks over here, and looking at the shoreline, it's actually really cool. The land between the lakes and the shoreline along here is really rocky. It seems like smallmouth like rocks, so I don't know if that is it as rocky on the other side, or is it rockier here?
There's more rock definitely over here on the LBL side. I mean, like you said, smallmouth definitely love rock, and they like that clear water. And typically in the fall, most people will migrate over here to this side. Like I say, the fish, it just depends on the weather conditions. We had the cloudy overcast the first day, and you know, there's one smacked it.
I heard it. We're fishing basically the same way, just
Yep.
different part of the lake.
Yep, just different part of the lake. I mean, this time of year, it's about covering water, and anybody that's ever fished with me knows that from the middle of September on till it gets so cold that you can't throw it. I love to throw a topwater bait. You cover a lot of water. There's a lot of days where you come out and you may not get a bite, but you have some huge days on it too. And that's one thing is I like to fish my confidence baits. I mean, there's different ways you can catch fish this time of year, but I'm a power fisherman, and I like throwing these walking baits and a plopping style bait, you know. And I mean, a bass fisherman loves a topwater bite, right?
Everybody does, I think.
That's right.
Didn't take very long. It's been mostly smallmouth today, but switched to a chatterbait and got a green one. All right, so when you take people out, is it one client, two clients per trip, and then is it half days, full days? Like, what's a day like for them?
So typically what I'll do is I'll take up to 2 people, and usually we'll start early in the morning, and I work with guys that have had new electronics installed, no matter what brands it is, and we'll take them out and just spend some time in the water with them, and basically give the customer a chance to spend some time with somebody that has a few hours behind it. And what I'll do is I'll go in, set their electronics up, make sure that they have the confidence in knowing that their stuff's set up properly, and then we go out and apply them and just show them how to use them. Depending on the time of year, if it's springtime, we'll target smallmouth a lot of times with forward-facing live scope or active target from Lowrance, either one. And then in the summertime, you know, Kentucky Lake is known as a ledge fishing lake. That's kind of how I built my business. I'm an offshore guy. I like to fish offshore, and a lot of guys will come out and kind of want to know how to apply this stuff offshore.
Show us something that you'd teach some of these guys.
So one of the first things that I teach people is we talk about mapping, GPS, whether it's Lowrance, Garmin, Humminbird. There's a lot of different, you know, every manufacturer makes a good map nowadays. One of the things that I talk to about when I'm setting up somebody's graph is I'll actually go in and show them how to do depth highlights. And the reason that I touch on that is, let's take for instance here on Kentucky Lake, this water fluctuates so much. It fluctuates 5 feet difference, you know, summer pool to winter pool. And when that happens, there's so much structure under the water that you've got to be careful of whenever you're out there running up and down the lake. And what I'll do is I'll go in and actually show them how to do depth highlights. You can see on my Lowrance here that I've got different depth highlights, and one of the most important things to do is go in, make that 5 to 8, 10 foot range some shade of like red or like something bright that stands out to you. You can see on my unit here, I've got all of my shallow water is red. So what that's going to do, number one, it's going to show you those places that you want to steer away from when that water comes down. And it's also, we're going into the fall time of year, a lot of these fish, they like to get out on what we call bars or shallow areas, shallow flats, and a lot of times that's where you're going to find those fish in the fall. And it opens up, it just shows you right here, you can see that flat, you can see that flat, and it just eliminates so much water for you when you're on a big body of water like this.
Well, that's going to wrap it up here on the lake. It's the end of the conference, the final night, and to cap it off, we got the AIC Awards tonight. So let's go. The bar's probably open, and let's see who won some awards.
Well, what's up from Kentucky Lake? We're down here filming the Bassmaster Open. Dan is in the boat with Joe Titus today, and this is a really neat area. And when we were down here last fall, I had the chance to spend some time with Brandon Hunter. If you're down in this area and need some work getting your boat rigged up, he's a guy to get a hold of. But being down here this year, we did not want to fish Kentucky Lake because of the tournament going on. A, we didn't want to get in the way of the tournament, and B, we didn't want to get any intel on where there were fish, since I'm staying with a couple of the anglers, so we didn't want there to be any sort of impropriety or weirdness or info sharing or anything like that. So he goes, you know what, let's go fish this private lake. Bring the cameras, don't bring the cameras, let's just go do some fishing. I said, well, if there's a chance to get some giant bass, I'm bringing the cameras. It's actually raining mud. I don't know how else to explain it, but my windshield is dirty and I just cleaned it. It's pretty wild. In any case, we're gonna go try to catch some big bass.
Well, we just got here. We're gonna kind of poke around. You know, it's a private lake here. It's a big lake. You can see. I don't know exactly how many acres it is, but the cool thing about it is that it's got big ones in it. It's got quality. It's a neat little place you can come and play with these. Come up here and test baits and test live scopes and do a lot of different things. But it's just like any other lake. You still got to kind of put something together. We just dropped the boat in the water. We haven't been in here long, and kind of see what the fish are doing, relate to the wind in the front, and see what happens. See what we can't put together. What some of the guys in the Bass Open are battling is water temperatures falling and dirty water. Yeah, they caught them really good, but it's not as good as it could have been. And typically this time of year when that water temperature is still in the 40s, one of my favorite ways to catch them is on a jerkbait. I'm throwing that 6 cents provoke here. It's kind of a chartreuse purple back. It's something that I like on like a cloudy day.
So they're able to manage this pond with trees, rocks, structure.
Yeah, as far as I know, I mean they put a lot of structure in out here. I mean there's a lot of trees, a lot of rock. If you get out there in the middle, they actually, when they built this thing, they actually went in there and there's a high spot out there in the middle. You can kind of see it right out there. Manage it just like a small lake.
They've actually got biologists coming out here and they're putting forage in here, bait.
Yep. Biologists come out here and they put I think it's got threadfin, big gizzard shad, bluegill, crappie, and bass. Florida strain is what's in here. It's a fun little place to dial in a live scope for sure, because you're not looking at any of that trash.
Yeah, know their target species.
You know what you're looking for. I saw one hanging right around the top of that. Whatever that structure is, there's one right. See him right there?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he did grab it. He's coming at it. See him? Got it.
Nice.
It's not the biggest one in the lake, but there's a ton of fish in the lake that's this size right here. It's cool about that one. I saw that piece of structure out there. I've seen that piece over here. I don't know if it's an old spool or like a log or what in the water there, and I could see that fish over there. I tossed it right over there, and he come up, bumped it once, and then he come back after and grabbed it.
Fun when you can see him on the live scope.
It's really cool seeing that live scope. That technology's been so, you're either for it or against it, and it's just another tool. It's really cool being able to see it and see your bait, see them react to it, and catch fish like that one. The live scope's changed so much.
Right.
What a guy ought to do is just put it down and go find them, but I still like the surprise of just going down, getting in an area and throwing a jerkbait. Here's a few fish hanging around. Right there, look like they're on bottom.
I mean, live scope doesn't show them all.
That's right, and it's not going to put them in the boat for you. See, I'm coming right to him. He didn't even look at it.
And this place is pretty neat, but you take a guy like me from Minnesota to a place like this, and I'm just going to wonder why there's no walleyes in here.
That's where they were. Maybe we was hitting it at the wrong angle.
Funny how you can fish the same piece of structure but come from the other side.
Of course, we were hitting it typically. You have to fish against the wind in order to hold the boat. Got it.
Nice. Looks a little better. Yeah.
Fatty is.
That's what we're out here for today.
We switched over to this side. We got into this wind, and usually when you can fish that wind, if you can stand to be in it, that's the kind you'll usually catch right there. Hopefully we can stumble into a few more down through here like that. It's probably 5.5, probably. Got a big old belly on her.
Yeah. Well, this was kind of your first idea, was to come fish this, with the wind blowing into it. You threw a couple casts when you came to pick me up, and then we headed the other way.
I was trying to find some calm water, but I kind of knew in the back of my mind that the better side, usually when the wind's blowing, take advantage of it. I mean, that's usually where those big ones are. What it does, it pushes that bait up against the rock here, and then the fish follow.
Are you seeing anything on the live scope?
I'm finally starting to see some bait. I'm not really picking the fish apart as much as I am just fishing the wind-blown bank, but good indication that we're in the right area. Another head shaker.
Oh yeah, jeez. Well, I think you're finding them.
Fish is blind. Look.
Oh, look at that.
Sick looking too, isn't he?
Yeah, he is kind of got a weird shape to him. Well, this is a really neat piece of property, and right now we're locked in. It is private property, and I can see why they gate it up and keep it protected, because this is really cool back in here. And had a lot of fun watching Brandon fish out there today. He caught some nice fish, and now that the sun came out, the weather's going to turn a little bit nicer. Fishing will probably get a little bit better, but we had to head out, so it was fun to be here. It was good to see Brandon once again. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you give us a like and subscribe to the Fish Hunt Forever YouTube channel.
The simple life and the things that matter most, where the sky meets the water and the land's still close. Visit Kentucky Lake, it's the place you'll find a little peace of mind.